The rain hammered against the coffee shop window like tiny fists demanding entry, each drop racing down the glass in frantic trails that blurred the city lights beyond. I traced one with my fingertip, leaving a faint smudge on the cold surface, watching it disappear into the chaos below. The cafe smelled of burnt espresso and wet wool, that particular autumn scent that clung to everything in Seattle during October. My reflection stared back at me from the dark glass. Pale skin, exhausted eyes with shadows underneath that no concealer could hide. Mousy brown hair pulled into a messy bun because I'd barely had time to shower after my double shift at the hospital. 28 years old and going on a blind date arranged by my well-meaning but pushy coworker Sarah. I should have canceled. My feet ached from 12 hours of running between patient rooms. My scrubs were probably still faintly stained with God knows what, despite changing into my only decent dress. A simple navy blue thing I'd worn to my cousin's wedding 2 years ago. But Sarah had been relentless, insisting that her husband's business associate was perfect for me, and that I needed to get out there after my disastrous breakup with Marcus 6 months ago. Marcus, who'd emptied our joint savings account and disappeared with his secretary. Marcus, who'd left me with nothing but debt and an apartment I could barely afford on a nurse's salary. I checked my phone for the 100th time. 7:47 p.m. He was 13 minutes late. Of course he was. This was probably a mistake. Sarah probably felt sorry for me. Poor, pathetic Emma who worked herself to the bone and still couldn't make rent without eating ramen for 2 weeks straight. I grabbed my purse, ready to leave, when the cafe door opened. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. I felt him before I saw him. A shift in the atmosphere, like the moment before lightning strikes. Every conversation in the small cafe stuttered and died. Even the hissing espresso machine seemed to quiet. I turned slowly, and my breath caught in my throat. He stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his dark hair, and he was wrong. Wrong for this place. Wrong for me. Wrong in a way that made every instinct I possessed scream danger while simultaneously rooting me to my chair. Tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out a black suit that probably cost more than my car. No, definitely more than my car. The fabric caught the light as he moved, custom tailored to his athletic frame. His hair was almost black, slightly disheveled from the rain, giving him a dangerous edge that contradicted the expensive clothes. But it was his face that made my mouth go dry. Sharp jawline, straight nose, full lips pressed into a firm line, and eyes so dark they appeared black in the cafe's dim lighting. He scanned the room with a predatory patience, and when those eyes found mine, I felt pinned, examined, assessed. A man appeared at his elbow, shorter, stockier, wearing a dark suit and an earpiece. A bodyguard. My stomach dropped. Who brings a bodyguard to a coffee date? The tall man said something without looking at him, his gaze never leaving mine, and the bodyguard stepped back toward the door, positioning himself with a clear view of the entire cafe. And the exits. Why was he watching the exits? Emma? His voice carried across the space despite being barely above a normal speaking volume. Rich, smooth, with the faintest hint of an accent I couldn't place. Italian, maybe? Or Greek? I nodded, because my voice seemed to have abandoned me entirely. He crossed the distance between us in a few purposeful strides, and suddenly he was standing beside my small table, overwhelming my senses. He smelled like rain and something expensive. Cedar and bergamot, maybe, with an underlying note of danger I couldn't identify. Leather, gun oil, my nurse's instincts kicked in absurdly, cataloging details. No wedding ring, calluses on his knuckles that suggested he knew how to fight, a small scar above his left eyebrow that was barely visible. "I apologize for being late," he said, pulling out the chair across from me with a grace that seemed incongruous with his size. Unexpected business. Business that required a bodyguard? "It's fine," I managed, my voice coming out smaller than I'd intended. "I'm Emma. Emma Reeves. Dante." He sat down, and even that simple action seemed calculated, controlled. Dante Russo. Russo. The name sent a shiver down my spine, though I couldn't say why. Maybe I'd heard it somewhere before, in passing, attached to something I should remember but couldn't quite grasp. "Sarah said you work with her husband?" I ventured. trying to find solid ground in this increasingly surreal situation. Something flickered in his dark eyes. Amusement, maybe, or calculation. In a manner of speaking, Thomas handles certain logistics for my family's business. Logistics. The word hung between us, heavy with implication. What kind of business? I asked, then immediately regretted it when his expression shifted subtly. Not anger exactly, but a warning. A boundary I'd unknowingly approached. Import-export, he said smoothly, too smoothly. Primarily through the port of Seattle. My family has been in the shipping industry for generations. It was a lie. Or at least, not the whole truth. I knew it the way I knew when a patient was hiding their pain level. Something in the eyes, the set of the jaw, the careful choice of words. But I was too mesmerized to care, too caught in the web of his presence to question further. "And you're a nurse," he said, not a question. His eyes traveled over me with an intensity that made heat crawl up my neck. "Pediatric ward," Sarah mentioned. "Yes." I wrapped my hands around my cold coffee cup, needing something to anchor me. "I work with sick children. It's hard sometimes, but rewarding." "Hard how?" He leaned forward slightly, and I caught another whiff of that intoxicating scent. Cedar and danger. I found myself talking, words spilling out like I was under some kind of spell. About the children who came through our ward. The families struggling with medical bills, the insurance companies that fought us on every treatment. About working double shifts to help my younger brother pay for community college because our parents had died in a car accident when I was 21. About Marcus and the empty bank account. Though I don't know why I told him that. I never talked about Marcus. He listened with an attention that felt absolute, as if nothing else in the world existed except my words. His eyes never left my face, and occasionally he'd nod or make a small sound of acknowledgement. The bodyguard by the door shifted position once, and Dante's gaze flicked toward him for a fraction of a second, some silent communication passing between them, before returning to me. "You give too much," he said finally, his voice dropping lower. "And people take from you. I'm a nurse. Giving is kind of the job description. That's not what I meant." He reached across the table, and I froze as his fingers brushed against my hand, warm despite the cold rain he'd walked through. "You've been hurt, recently, by someone who didn't deserve you." How did he know that? Sarah must have told Thomas, who told him. That had to be it. "I'm fine," I lied. "No." His thumb traced a slow circle on the back of my hand, sending electricity up my arm. "You're not. But you will be." The certainty in his voice should have irritated me. Instead, it felt like a promise. A vow. We talked for another hour, though later I'd struggled to remember what we discussed. The cafe around us became background noise, the other patrons fading into irrelevance. He asked questions about my childhood, my dreams, my favorite books. Normal date questions, except nothing about him felt normal. Every answer I gave seemed to be catalogued, filed away in some mental database. He revealed almost nothing about himself, deflecting my questions with smooth charm in those devastating eyes. When I mentioned I needed to leave, early shift tomorrow, I explained apologetically. He stood immediately. "I'll drive you home." "Oh, I have my car. It's late and raining." Not a request, an expectation. The bodyguard was already at the door, speaking into his phone in rapid Italian. I caught fragments. "The car? Now, sweep the route." Sweep the route. Before I could protest, Dante's hand settled on the small of my back, guiding me toward the exit with a possessiveness that should have alarmed me, but instead sent warmth pooling in my stomach. We stepped into the rain, and within seconds, a black SUV pulled up to the curb. Sleek, expensive, with windows so tinted I couldn't see inside. The bodyguard opened the back door, scanning the street with professional efficiency. "Mr. Russo," he said quietly. "I'm aware, Marco." Dante's voice carried an edge of command that made the bodyguard straighten. Then, softer, to me. "After you." The interior smelled like leather and money. Dante slid in beside me, close enough that his thigh pressed against mine in the confined space. Marco took the front passenger seat, and another man I hadn't noticed. The driver, also in a dark suit, pulled smoothly into traffic. "Where do you live?" Dante asked. I gave my address, a shabby apartment building in a questionable neighborhood, nothing like what he was probably used to, and tried not to notice how his jaw tightened when I said the street name. "That area isn't safe," he stated. "It's what I can afford." Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. "We'll discuss that." "Discuss what?" "My apartment. We just met." I started, but the words died when his hand found mine in the darkness, fingers interlacing with a firmness that felt like a claim. "Emma." My name in his mouth sounded like a prayer and a threat. "I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't waste time. I see something I want. I take it. And I want you." My heart hammered against my ribs. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." His thumb stroked the inside of my wrist, finding my racing pulse. "I know you're kind when the world has given you every reason to be cruel. I know you sacrifice yourself for others without expecting anything in return. I know you're stronger than you think you are." He leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. "And I know that you feel this too, this connection." I did. God help me. I did. It was insane, impossible. But sitting in the darkness of that expensive car with this dangerous man, I felt more alive than I had in years. The SUV pulled up to my building, a 5-story walk-up with peeling paint and a broken security light. Through the rain-streaked window, it looked even more pathetic than usual. "I'll walk you up," Dante said. "You really don't have to. I wasn't asking." Marco was already out of the car, umbrella in hand, scanning the dark street with those watchful eyes. Dante took the umbrella and held it over us as we walked to the entrance, his other hand firmly on my waist. Possessive, protective. My hands shook as I fumbled with my keys at the lobby door. The lock stuck. It always stuck, and I jiggled it frantically, embarrassed by the cheap, broken mechanism. Dante's hand covered mine, taking the key with a gentleness that contradicted his earlier command. "Allow me." He had the door open in seconds, and we stepped into the dingy lobby with its flickering fluorescent light and the faint smell of garbage and mildew. I wanted to die of embarrassment. What must he think, coming from whatever world of luxury he inhabited to this? But when I looked at his face, I didn't see judgment. I saw controlled fury. "How long have you lived here?" His voice was too calm, too measured. "About a year. After Marcus..." I bit my lip. It was all I could afford after he... "Anyway, it's temporary. I'm saving up. This building doesn't have security. The lock on the front door is broken. Your neighborhood has one of the highest crime rates in Seattle." Each fact was delivered with increasing tension. "You work night shifts and come home alone in the dark. I'm careful. Careful isn't enough." He turned to face me fully, and the intensity in his eyes made me step back against the wall. He followed, caging me in with his body, hands bracing on either side of my head. "Do you have any idea what could happen to you? Do you have any concept of how vulnerable you are?" "I can take care of myself," I whispered, but it sounded weak even to my own ears. No, the word was absolute, final. "You can't. Not here. Not alone." His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone with devastating tenderness. "But you won't be alone anymore. I'm going to take care of you, Emma, whether you want me to or not." It should have terrified me. This man I'd just met, making declarations about my life, my safety, my future. But my traitorous body leaned into his touch, craving the warmth and certainty he offered. "I don't understand," I breathed. "Why do you even care? We just met. This is crazy." "Yes," he agreed, his lips a breath away from mine. "It is. But I've learned to trust my instincts. And every instinct I have is screaming that you're mine to protect. Mine to keep safe. Mine." The word echoed through me, igniting something primal and terrifying. He pulled back slightly, reaching into his jacket. For a horrifying second, I thought of the bodyguards, the expensive suits, the careful way they'd watch the exits. And my mind screamed gun, but he withdrew a business card, black, with silver lettering and a phone number. Nothing else. No company name, no address. "Call me," he said, pressing it into my palm. Anytime, day or night. If you need anything. If you're scared. If you just want to hear my voice. His eyes bored into mine. Do you understand? I nodded. Mute, say it. I understand. Good girl. The praise sent heat flooding through me, and from the slight curve of his lips, he knew exactly what those words did to me. He walked me to the stairs. The elevator was broken, of course, and waited while I climbed to the 3rd floor. I felt his eyes on me the entire way, a physical weight I couldn't shake. When I reached my floor and looked back, he was still there, hands in his pockets, watching with that predatory stillness. I let myself into my tiny studio apartment, locking the deadbolt and chain behind me. Through the thin walls, I could hear my neighbor's television blaring. The radiator clanked and hissed. My twin bed with its second-hand car, like I was something precious and dangerous at the same time, like he'd burn the world down to keep me safe. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from an unknown number. Make sure your door is locked, all 3 locks. I'll know if you don't. My breath caught. I scrambled out of bed and checked. Deadbolt, chain, and the flimsy door lock were all engaged. How did he know there were 3? How did he know anything about my apartment? Another text. Sleep well, Emma. Dream of me. I should have been frightened. Should have blocked the number and forgotten this entire surreal evening. Instead, I clutched the phone to my chest, a smile pulling at my lips in the darkness, and for the first time in 6 months, I felt something other than exhaustion and defeat. I felt wanted, protected, claimed. The pediatric ward was chaos incarnate the next morning, 3 emergency admissions before my shift even officially started, 2 code blues, and a medication shortage that had the attending physicians screaming at administration. I barely had time to think about Dante Russo and his impossible declarations, which was probably for the best. In the harsh fluorescent hospital lighting, the previous night felt like a fever dream, except for the texts. Good morning, beautiful. Did you sleep well? That one had come at 6 a.m., while I was stumbling through my shower. Eat breakfast. You're too thin. 7:15 a.m., right as I'd been about to skip breakfast and grab coffee instead. Text me when you're on break. I need to know you're safe. 9:30 a.m., between stabilizing a 6-year-old with severe asthma and comforting his terrified mother. I hadn't responded to any of them, unsure what to say, unsure if engaging would encourage behavior that felt increasingly obsessive. But my traitorous heart skipped every time my phone buzzed, and I found myself checking it compulsively during the rare quiet moments. Someone's got you smiling, Sarah observed, cornering me at the nurse's station during lunch. She was practically vibrating with curiosity, her blonde ponytail bouncing as she leaned against the counter. So? How was it? Thomas said Dante seemed really interested when he mentioned setting you 2 up. I focused on updating a patient chart, avoiding her eager gaze. It was fine, nice. Nice? She grabbed my arm, spinning me to face her. Emma Reeves. That man is not nice. He's gorgeous, wealthy, and according to Thomas, one of the most eligible bachelors in Seattle. Did he ask you out again? Not exactly. More like declared ownership of me. But I wasn't about to explain that. What does that mean? My phone buzzed. Another text. I'm sending lunch to the hospital. Make sure you eat it. All of it. I stared at the screen. How did he even know I was still at work? That I probably hadn't eaten? Oh my God, is that him? Sarah squealed, trying to peek at my phone. What did he say? Before I could answer, my supervisor appeared, clipboard in hand and wearing her perpetually stressed expression. Emma, there's a delivery for you at the front desk. Security needs you to come get it because apparently it requires a signature. Sarah and I exchanged confused glances. I never got deliveries at work. The front desk was in the hospital's main lobby, and I took the stairs down 3 floors, my tired legs protesting. The security guard, Marcus, different Marcus, I reminded myself with a wince, was standing next to an enormous insulated bag that definitely hadn't come from any normal food delivery service. You Emma Reeves? He asked, grinning. Because someone really wants to make sure you eat lunch. Heat crawled up my neck as I signed the delivery slip. The bag was from Altura, one of Seattle's most exclusive Italian restaurants, the kind of place that required reservations months in advance, and where entrees started at $60. Inside were multiple containers: homemade pasta with truffle cream sauce, grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, fresh bread still warm, a caprese salad, and tiramisu. Enough food for 4 people. A small card was tucked inside, written in strong, masculine handwriting. "You need to keep your strength up. You give too much of yourself away. Let me give something back." Damn, Marcus the security guard whistled. "That's some serious courting right there. Your boyfriend loaded?" "He's not my boyfriend," I muttered, but my hands were shaking as I gathered the ridiculously expensive lunch. "We just met." "Yeah? Well, he's smitten. I've seen a lot of flower deliveries come through here, but this is next level." I carried everything back upstairs, aware of the curious stares from other hospital staff. Sarah was waiting at the nurse's station, eyes wide. "Is that from Altura? Emma, do you have any idea how impossible it is to get food from there? They don't even do takeout." "Apparently they do for Dante," I said weakly, setting the bag down. There was enough to share with the entire nursing staff, and soon we were all gathered around, dividing up impossibly delicious food, while my coworkers peppered me with questions I couldn't answer. Who was he? What did he do? Was he single? How did we meet? I gave vague responses, but inside, warning bells were ringing louder. This wasn't normal dating behavior. This was something else. Something that felt like control wrapped in generosity. I pulled out my phone. "This is too much." "You barely know me." His response came within seconds. "I know enough. Eat. I can't accept gifts like this. It's inappropriate. Emma." Just my name, but I could hear the warning in it. The command: "Don't fight me on taking care of you. You won't win." My hands trembled as I typed back. "This feels like too much too fast." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. When his response came, it made my breath catch. I don't do slow. I don't do casual. I see what I want. I claim it. "I wanted you the moment I saw you sitting in that cafe trying to disappear into yourself, so small in that chair, so tired, so beautifully broken. And I decided then, you're mine to fix, mine to protect, mine to keep. Get used to it." I should have been horrified, should have blocked his number and reported him for stalking, but something dark and needy inside me, something I'd never acknowledged before, uncurled at his words. Marcus had made me feel worthless, disposable. Dante made me feel precious, valuable, worth fighting for, even if his methods were completely unhinged. "I have to get back to work," I typed, avoiding actually responding to his declaration. "Tonight, dinner. I'll pick you up at 7. I didn't say yes. You didn't say no. He had me there. The rest of my shift passed in a blur of vitals checks and medication rounds. But my mind was elsewhere, cycling through the impossibility of the situation. At 6:30, I changed out of my scrubs in the hospital locker room, staring at my reflection in the dingy mirror. I looked exhausted, my hair a mess, my eyes shadowed. I'd brought a change of clothes, jeans and a simple sweater, but they felt woefully inadequate for wherever Dante planned to take me. My phone buzzed. I'm outside. Outside? I hadn't even confirmed. I grabbed my bag and hurried through the hospital corridors, pushing out through the main entrance into the cool November evening. The black SUV was idling at the curb, impossible to miss. Marco stood beside the back door, that same professional vigilance in his posture as he scanned the parking lot. When he saw me, he opened the door. "Miss Reeves." The title felt wrong, too formal, but I slid into the back seat anyway. Dante was waiting, dressed in another impeccable dark suit, this one charcoal with a black shirt underneath. No tie. The top button undone, revealing a sliver of tanned throat that my eyes fixated on before I could stop myself. "You came," he said, satisfaction evident in his voice. "You didn't give me much choice." "You always have a choice, Emma." His hand found mine, pulling me closer across the leather seat. "You could have said no, could have blocked my number, could have run." His thumb traced patterns on my palm. "But you didn't, because because you feel this too. This inevitability. The car pulled smoothly into traffic, and I realized we were heading away from the downtown restaurants toward the waterfront. Where are we going? My home. I'm cooking for you. Warning bells clanged. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know you well enough to be alone with me. He shifted, and suddenly his body was angled toward mine, filling my vision. You think I'd hurt you? I think you're a stranger who sends bodyguards to coffee dates and somehow got an exclusive restaurant to deliver food they don't normally deliver, and texts me constantly and shows up at my work without asking. Yes, he interrupted calmly. I do all those things because you're mine to protect, and I take that responsibility seriously. I'm not yours. We've been on one date. We're on our second now. His eyes glittered with something dangerous and possessive. And by the end of tonight, you'll understand exactly what you are to me. What you've been since the moment I saw you. The SUV turned onto a private road, passing through an iron gate that opened automatically. We wound through manicured grounds. Even in the darkness, I could see expensive landscaping, sculptures, fountains. The house that emerged from the shadows was more of an estate, modern architecture of glass and stone. 3 stories of impossible luxury perched on a cliff overlooking Elliott Bay. You live here? I breathed. One of my properties, the most secure. He helped me out of the car, his hand warm and firm on mine. Marco and Vincent will be outside. We won't be disturbed. That should have frightened me. Instead, anticipation coiled in my stomach as he led me through the front entrance, a massive wooden door that probably cost more than my yearly salary. The interior was stunning, high ceilings, marble floors, minimalist furniture that probably came from European designers I'd never heard of. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city lights reflecting on the dark water. This is... I struggled for words. It's beautiful. It's empty. He shrugged off his jacket, draping it over a chair, and began rolling up his sleeves. The motion revealed muscled forearms, and my mouth went dry. A place to sleep, to conduct business, but not a home. His eyes found mine, not without the right person in it. The implication hung heavy between us. He guided me to the kitchen, a chef's dream of stainless steel and granite, and poured me a glass of wine from a bottle that probably cost more than my rent. Sit, he commanded, gesturing to a bar stool at the massive island. Watch. Talk to me. I perched on the stool, sipping wine that tasted like liquid velvet, and watched him move around the kitchen with surprising efficiency. He wasn't just cooking, he was creating. Fresh pasta made from scratch, a sauce that filled the kitchen with the scent of garlic and basil and tomatoes. His movements were precise, controlled, like everything else about him. Where did you learn to cook? I asked. My grandmother. She believed a man should be self-sufficient. Something soft entered his expression. She raised me after my parents died. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate. How old were you? 12. He didn't look up from mincing garlic. Car accident. Someone sabotaged the brakes. The casual way he said it, sabotaged, made my blood run cold. What do you mean sabotaged? I mean someone wanted them dead. He looked up then, and the darkness in his eyes was absolute. My father had enemies. I inherited them. This was it. The confirmation of what I'd suspected, what every instinct had been screaming. What exactly is your family business, Dante? He set down the knife, bracing his hands on the counter. Do you really want to know? Yes. My family controls the Port of Seattle. All shipping containers that come through, legal and otherwise, pay tribute to us. We move merchandise, protect businesses, settle disputes. We've done it for 3 generations. He moved around the island, stalking toward me with predatory grace. What I am, Emma, is the head of the Russo crime family, the Mafia, if you want to use the crude term. I'm the man people fear, the one they pay for protection, the one who makes problems disappear. I should have run. Should have called the police. Should have done anything except sit there frozen as he caged me in against the counter. And you want me to... what? Be part of that world? My voice came out breathy, weak. I want you safe from it, protected. Mine. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my lower lip. That man who hurt you, Marcus. He's a financial analyst at Westbrook Investments, correct? How did he know that? He embezzled $63,000 from you over the course of your relationship. Opened credit cards in your name, destroyed your credit. Each fact was delivered with increasing tension. He's currently living in Portland with his new girlfriend, spending money he stole from you. Tears burned in my eyes. How do you... I know everything about you, Emma. I had you investigated the moment Thomas mentioned you. His other hand settled on my waist. Possessive. I know your parents died when you were 21. That you put your brother through school. That you work doubles to afford that shithole apartment. That you have $17,000 in medical school debt and another $8,000 in credit card debt from Marcus's theft. His forehead pressed against mine. I know you're barely surviving, giving everything to everyone else. And I can't fucking stand it. You had me investigated? I should have been furious. Was furious. But also terrified and thrilled in equal measure. Yes. And I'll do it again. I'll do whatever it takes to protect you, even from yourself. His lips brushed my temple. That debt? Gone. I paid it off this afternoon. Your credit score will be repaired within the month. Marcus will be receiving a visit from some associates of mine, and he'll be returning every penny he stole with interest. You can't just... I can. I did. His eyes bored into mine. And I'm moving you out of that apartment this weekend. You'll stay here, where you're safe, where I can protect you. This is insane. I pushed against his chest, but he didn't budge. You can't just take over my life, pay off my debts, make decisions for me. Watch me. The command in his voice made me shiver. I told you, Emma. I don't do slow. I don't do casual. You're mine now. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. I'm not yours. I barely know you. You know enough. His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head back. You know I'd kill anyone who tried to hurt you. You know I'd burn down the city to keep you safe. You know that when you're with me, you feel something you've never felt before. Wanted, cherished, protected. His lips hovered over mine, close enough that I could feel his breath. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't feel this connection, this pull. Tell me, and I'll take you home right now and never contact you again. I opened my mouth to do exactly that, to tell him he was crazy, that this was moving too fast, that I couldn't possibly feel anything real for a man I'd just met. But the lie wouldn't come, because standing there in his arms, in his impossibly beautiful house, with his dark eyes promising protection and possession, and something that felt dangerously like forever, I felt more alive than I had in years. Maybe ever. I can't do this, I whispered instead, a non-answer. This is too much. You're too much. I know. His thumb traced my cheekbone, but you're going to try anyway, because you're brave, Emma, braver than you know, and because deep down, you're tired of fighting alone, tired of being strong for everyone else. You want someone to be strong for you, to take care of you, to make the hard decisions so you don't have to. He was right. God help me. He was right. Dinner's burning, I said weakly, grasping for any distraction. He smiled, a real smile that transformed his face from dangerous to devastating. No, it's not. It's simmering. But he released me anyway, returning to the stove. Set the table. Second drawer has placemats. I did, grateful for something to do with my shaking hands. We ate in the formal dining room, at a table that could seat 12, but felt intimate with just the two of us. The pasta was incredible, the wine perfectly paired, and our conversation flowed easier now that the intensity had been broken. He told me about his grandmother's restaurant in Naples, about learning to cook at her side. I told him about my brother, Jake, and his dreams of becoming a teacher. We talked about Seattle, about the rain, about small things that felt normal and safe, but underneath it all, the current of possession and obsession ran deep. After dinner, he led me to the living room, to a white sofa positioned before those massive windows. The city stretched out below us, glittering and distant. He poured us both brandy, and we sat close enough that our thighs touched. I need you to understand something, he said quietly, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. The world I live in, it's dangerous. There are people who would hurt you to get to me. That's why I need you here, where my security can protect you, why I need to know where you are, that you're safe. I have a life, Dante, a job, an apartment, a brother. I can't just disappear into your fortress. You won't disappear. You'll work at the hospital. I'll have drivers take you, security waiting. Your brother will be protected too. Scholarships arranged, better housing, whatever he needs. His hand found mine. I'm not asking you to give up your life. I'm asking you to let me make it better, safer, easier. In exchange for what? For being mine. Simple. Absolute. For trusting me to protect you, for letting me care for you the way you deserve. The brandy burned going down, but not as much as the intensity of his gaze. I need time to think, I said finally. You have until Sunday. He set down his glass with decisive finality. Then I'm moving you in, whether you've decided or not, because that apartment isn't safe, and I won't spend another night knowing you're there alone, vulnerable, where I can't protect you. That's not a choice. No, he agreed. It's not. It's an inevitability. He stood, pulling me up with him. Come, let me show you what I'm offering. He led me upstairs, down a hallway lined with expensive art, to a bedroom that made my breath catch. It was enormous, probably bigger than my entire studio. With a king-sized bed dressed in white linens, another wall of windows, and a door leading to what looked like a private balcony. An ensuite bathroom that resembled a luxury spa. A walk-in closet currently empty. This would be yours, he said from the doorway, watching me take it all in. Your space, your sanctuary. I'm across the hall, close enough to protect you but far enough to give you privacy, unless you invite me closer. The implication made heat pool low in my stomach. I can't just move in with a man I barely know. Then get to know me. He crossed to me, pulling me against his chest. But do it here, where you're safe, where I can sleep knowing you're not in danger, where I can... He stopped, jaw clenching. Where you can what? Where I can keep you. The words were raw, honest. I know how this sounds. I know I'm being obsessive, possessive, probably insane by normal standards. But I've never felt this before. This need to claim someone, to protect them, to keep them close. You've gotten under my skin, Emma Reeves, and I don't think I can let you go even if I wanted to. His phone buzzed, harsh and insistent. He pulled it out, frowning at the screen. I need to take this. Business. Stay here. He stepped into the hallway, and I heard his voice drop to that commanding tone he used with his men. I moved to the windows, looking out at the view. The glittering water, the distant lights of the city, the security lights illuminating the grounds below. This could be my life. This luxury, this protection, this dark and dangerous man who looked at me like I was something precious and breakable, and his. But at what cost? I heard him say something sharp in Italian, his voice rising. Then silence, footsteps approaching. When he returned, his expression was grim. Something's come up. I need to handle it personally. Marco will take you home. What kind of something? Business. Nothing for you to worry about. He cupped my face, kissing my forehead with surprising tenderness. But this conversation isn't over. Think about what I said. About moving here. About letting me protect you. His eyes burned into mine. About being mine. The drive home was quiet, just Marco and me in the SUV. When we pulled up to my building, he insisted on walking me to my door, checking my apartment before leaving, as if something might have changed in the few hours I was gone. Alone in my studio, I sat on my bed and stared at my phone. A text from Dante. Think about it, Emma. But know that regardless of your decision, you're already mine. You became mine the moment I saw you. The rest is just you accepting what's already true. I fell asleep clutching my phone, my dreams filled with dark eyes and dangerous promises, and the terrifying realization that part of me wanted to surrender to this madness. That part of me already had. Friday morning arrived with Seattle's typical gray drizzle, but my world had shifted into sharp, vivid color. I'd barely slept. tossing and turning while Dante's words echoed through my mind. "You're already mine." The certainty in his voice, the absolute conviction, it should have repulsed me. Instead, it had burrowed under my skin, taking root in places I didn't know existed. My phone had been buzzing since 6 a.m. "Good morning, beautiful. Eat breakfast. I'm sending a car for you. Be ready at 7:30. Don't argue." I'd typed and deleted a dozen responses before finally settling on, "I can drive myself to work." His reply was immediate, "Not anymore. My drivers are safer. Besides, your car is a death trap. I'm having it replaced. You are not buying me a car. Already done. Black Mercedes SUV, fully loaded, bulletproof. Will be delivered tomorrow." I stared at my phone in disbelief. Bulletproof? Who needed a bulletproof car? And why was I not running screaming from this insanity? At exactly 7:30, a sleek black town car pulled up outside my building. Not Marco this time. A different driver, older, with kind eyes and a professional demeanor. "Miss Reeves, I'm Antonio. Mr. Russo has assigned me as your primary driver." "I don't need a driver," I protested weakly, even as I slid into the back seat. "With respect, miss, Mr. Russo disagrees. And what Mr. Russo wants, Mr. Russo gets." But he said it with a slight smile, like he was sharing an inside joke. The hospital staff definitely noticed my arrival. Sarah practically dragged me into the break room the moment I clocked in. "Okay, spill everything." Because Thomas came home last night practically vibrating, saying Dante called him asking about your schedule, your brother, your entire life story. She crossed her arms, eyes gleaming with curiosity and concern. "Emma, who is this guy?" Thomas got really weird when I asked questions. Said Dante was important and that I should tell you to be careful. My stomach dropped. Careful how? He wouldn't say. Just that Dante's family is influential, powerful. That he's not someone you cross. She grabbed my hands. "Are you in over your head? Because you can walk away. You know that, right?" Did I? Did I really have that option anymore? Or had Dante already woven his web too tightly around me? "I don't know what I'm doing," I admitted quietly. "He's intense, possessive. Does things without asking, like paying off my debts." "He what?" "And he wants me to move in with him this weekend, into his estate on the waterfront." Sarah's mouth fell open. "Emma, that's crazy. You've known him for 2 days, I know." I pressed my palms against my eyes. "I know it's crazy, but Sarah, when I'm with him, I feel safe, protected. Like someone finally sees me, really sees me, and wants to take care of me instead of taking from me." "That's called love bombing," she said gently. "It's what manipulators do. They overwhelm you with attention and gifts and promises, and by the time you realize you're trapped." I know what love bombing is. I'd read about it after Marcus, promised myself I'd never fall for it again. But this felt different. Dante wasn't pretending to be something he wasn't. He was frighteningly honest about exactly what he was. A dangerous man who wanted to own me. "He's not hiding what he is. He told me straight out. He's Mafia, Sarah. He runs the port of Seattle. He has bodyguards and security, and he literally said he'd kill anyone who tried to hurt me." The color drained from Sarah's face. "Oh my God. Emma, you need to run. Now. Block his number. Move apartments. Maybe even leave Seattle. I can't." The words came out barely above a whisper. "I don't want to." We stared at each other, and I saw the exact moment she understood. Saw the recognition in her eyes that I was already too far gone. "Just be careful," she finally said. "Please. Promise me you'll be careful." I promised. But we both knew it was a lie. The day dragged endlessly. Between patience and paperwork, I checked my phone obsessively. Dante texted throughout the day, not asking where I was or what I was doing, but sending reminders to eat, to rest, to take care of myself. Orders disguised as concern. Each message made my pulse quicken. At lunch, another delivery arrived. This time, not just food, but flowers. 24 black roses in a crystal vase that must have cost a fortune. The card read simply, "Thinking of you. D. Black Roses." For mourning, for farewell, or in some traditions, for the beginning of something new, something dark. Those are stunning, my supervisor commented, stopping by the nurse's station. Special occasion? Just someone I'm seeing. Must be serious. She touched one of the velvet petals. Black roses are impossible to find, and expensive. Everything about Dante was expensive. His suits, his cars, his house, his presents. He spent money like water, throwing resources at any problem, any obstacle, including me. My phone buzzed with a new message. Dinner tonight. I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something nice. I'm taking you somewhere special. Before I could respond, another text. Please, Emma, I need to see you. That please undid me. This man who commanded empires, who made grown men fear him, was asking, not demanding this time, but requesting. How could I say no? Okay. His response was a single word. Mine. I left work at 6:30, Antonio waiting at the curb as promised. Mr. Russo asked me to take you shopping first, he said, opening the door. He's arranged for a personal shopper at Nordstrom. That's not necessary, Miss Reeves. Antonio's voice was kind but firm. Mr. Russo wants you to have nice things. Let him do this for you. It makes him happy. Something about the way he said it, the genuine affection in his tone when he spoke of Dante, made me relent. We drove to the flagship Nordstrom downtown, where an elegant woman in her 50s was waiting by the entrance. Emma, I'm Caroline. Dante described you perfectly. She looped her arm through mine like we were old friends. He has exquisite taste, and he's chosen some beautiful pieces for you to try. Come, we don't have much time. The next hour was a whirlwind of luxury I'd never experienced. Caroline had pulled an entire collection of dresses, each more stunning than the last. We settled on a deep emerald silk dress that hugged my curves, falling to mid-thigh with a subtle slit, matching heels that made my legs look miles long, delicate gold jewelry, even new lingerie, black lace that made me blush just looking at it. He'll love this, Caroline said with a knowing smile as I examined myself in the mirror. The dress transformed me. I didn't look like a tired nurse anymore. I looked expensive, beautiful, like someone who belonged in Dante's world. How much is all this? I asked nervously. Already taken care of. Dante has an account here. And, honey, between you and me? She leaned closer. In 20 years of working with Seattle's elite, I've never seen a man more specific about what he wanted for someone. He described you down to the shade of your eyes. He's utterly smitten. Smitten seemed too gentle a word for what Dante felt. Obsessed, consumed, possessed. Antonio drove me back to my apartment to change, waiting patiently while I transformed myself. When I emerged, his eyes widened slightly. Bellissima, he murmured. Mr. Russo is a lucky man. The drive took us away from the city, winding up into the hills where the truly wealthy lived. We pulled up to a restaurant I'd only read about in magazines, La Fontaine, a Michelin-starred establishment housed in a converted mansion, where reservations required a 6-month wait and entrees started at $200. Dante was waiting outside, leaning against his SUV with Marco a discreet distance away. He'd traded his usual dark suit for midnight blue, perfectly tailored, with a black shirt that made his eyes look even darker. When he saw me step out of the car, he went completely still. Emma. My name was a prayer, a curse, a claim. He crossed to me in 3 long strides, his hands framing my face. You're breathtaking. The dress is beautiful, I managed, hyper-aware of his touch, his closeness, the way his eyes traced every inch of me like he was memorizing the sight. The dress is just fabric. You make it beautiful. His thumb brushed my lower lip, and I saw his control slip for just a moment, raw hunger flashing across his features before he locked it down. Come. I have something to show you first. He led me not into the restaurant but around the side, to a private garden illuminated by thousands of string lights. A table for 2 sat beneath a pergola draped in more lights and white flowers. Roses, lilies, orchids. The city sprawled below us, glittering in the darkness. It was breathtaking. Impossible. Like something from a movie. Dante, this is for you. He pulled out my chair, his hand lingering on my bare shoulder. I wanted tonight to be perfect, to show you what life could be like, what I can give you. We sat, and servers appeared with wine, with courses I couldn't pronounce, but that melted on my tongue. Dante watched me eat with that intense focus of his, asking questions about my day, my patients, my brother. He listened like every word mattered, like I mattered, and I felt myself falling deeper into whatever this was between us. I spoke with Jake today, he said casually, cutting into his steak. I nearly dropped my fork. You what? I called your brother, introduced myself, told him I was seeing you and wanted to help with his education. He said it so calmly, like it was completely normal to contact my family without asking. He's a good kid, smart, wants to teach high school history. You had no right. I had every right. He's important to you, which makes him important to me. His eyes met mine, unapologetic. I've arranged a full scholarship to University of Washington, better than the community college he's attending. He starts in January. Dante. He was thrilled, Emma. Kept thanking me, asking why I'd do this for a stranger. Do you know what I told him? He leaned forward, elbows on the table. I told him it's because I'm in love with his sister, and I take care of what's mine. The world tilted. You told my brother you love me? We've known each other for 3 days, 72 hours, he agreed. Long enough to know you're the only woman I'll ever want. Long enough to know I'd burn the world down to keep you safe. Long enough to know that I can't breathe properly when you're not near me. He reached across the table, capturing my hand. You think this is too fast, that I'm crazy. Maybe I am, but I've lived in darkness my entire life, Emma. Violence and blood and betrayal. And then I saw you in that cafe trying to make yourself invisible. And for the first time in 34 years, I saw light. Hope. Something worth protecting. Tears burned in my eyes. I don't know if I can be what you need. You already are. His grip tightened. Just by existing. Just by being you. Kind and selfless and beautiful and so goddamn brave it terrifies me. Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world? How precious? I'm not brave. I'm scared. Of you. Of this. Of how much I already feel for you when I shouldn't. Feel what? His voice dropped, dangerous and desperate. Say it, Emma. I need to hear you say it. The word stuck in my throat, too terrifying to voice, but his eyes demanded truth, demanded surrender. And I was so tired of fighting, I feel like I'm falling. Like you're this gravitational force I can't resist, even though I know I should. Like if I let myself fall completely, I'll never find my way back. You won't. He stood, moving around the table to crouch beside my chair, taking both my hands in his. Because I won't let you go, ever. I know I'm being selfish, possessive, overwhelming. I know I should give you time, space, a normal courtship. But I can't, Emma. The thought of you in that apartment, vulnerable and alone, it drives me insane. The thought of another man even looking at you makes me want to commit murder. His hands trembled against mine. The first crack in his perfect control. Move in with me. Tomorrow. Let me protect you, care for you, worship you the way you deserve. It's too soon. Then we'll make it right. We'll get engaged, married. Whatever you need to feel secure in this. In us. He pulled a small box from his jacket, and my heart stopped. I was going to wait, build up to this. But I'm not a patient man, and I need you to understand how serious I am. He opened the box, revealing a ring that stole my breath. A large emerald surrounded by diamonds, set in platinum. It was exquisite, terrifying, real. Dante, no, I'm not proposing. Not yet, but I want you to have this. To know that's where this is heading, that I don't do casual, don't do temporary. When I say you're mine, I mean forever, for always, until my last breath. He slipped the ring onto my right hand, not my left, I noticed. A promise, not yet a claim. Wear this. Think about what I'm offering, and tomorrow, when I come to move you into my home, into my life, into my heart, you'll say yes. How can you be so sure? Because you're already mine, Emma. You became mine the moment you didn't run. The moment you let me touch you, text you, feed you, protect you. The moment you admitted you were falling. He pulled me to my feet, into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. Say yes, please. I'm begging you. I'll get on my knees right here if that's what it takes. I'll beg, I'll plead. I'll give you anything you want. Just don't make me spend another night knowing you're not safe. Not mine. Not where you belong. The ring felt heavy on my finger, warm and solid and real. I looked up into his face, this beautiful, dangerous, impossible man who'd crashed into my life like a hurricane and demanded I surrender everything. And God help me, I wanted to. One condition, I whispered. Hope flared in his eyes. Anything. I keep working. I don't give up nursing. Don't become some kept woman who exists only in your world. I need my independence, my identity, my purpose. Done. I'll have security with you, but you keep your job, your career, your purpose. His hand cupped my face. Anything else? You have to tell me the truth, always. About your business, about the dangers, about what I'm walking into. No secrets. Something flickered across his face. Guilt? Worry? But he nodded. I'll tell you everything. I promise. Though some of it you won't want to hear, I need to hear it anyway. If I'm doing this, if I'm jumping into this insanity with you, I need to know what I'm facing. Sunday. I'll tell you everything Sunday. Give you the full picture of my world, my family, my business, and if after that you still want to run... His jaw clenched. I'll let you go. I'll hate it. It'll destroy me. But I'll let you go. It was a lie. We both knew it. Once I was in his world, there would be no leaving. But I appreciated the gesture, the pretense of choice. Okay. I breathed. Okay. Tomorrow. I'll move in tomorrow. The smile that broke across his face was devastating. Pure joy mixed with triumph and possessive satisfaction. Say it again. Tomorrow. He kissed me before I could finish, his mouth claiming mine with a hunger that stole my breath and my sanity. It was nothing like the gentle kisses I'd experienced before. This was consumption, possession, a branding. His hands tangled in my hair, tilting my head to deepen the kiss. And I melted into him, into the heat and hardness of his body, into the promise of safety and danger, and something that felt terrifyingly like love. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard, and his eyes had gone almost black with desire. We should go, he said roughly. Before I do something we're not ready for. Before I take you right here in this garden and damn the consequences. Heat flooded through me at the image, at the raw want in his voice. He drove me home himself, dismissing Marco with a gesture. The SUV's interior felt smaller somehow, charged with the tension between us. His hand found mine, fingers interlacing, thumb stroking my palm in maddening circles. Tomorrow, I'm sending movers, he said. Pack what matters. Photos, sentimental items. Everything else we'll replace. Better clothes, better furniture, better everything. I don't need better things. I need my things. You'll have both. He pulled up to my building, jaw tightening at the sight of it. Last night in this place. Last night I have to imagine you here, unsafe, where I can't protect you. He walked me to my door again, checking my apartment with the same thorough care Marco had shown. Satisfied it was secure, he pulled me into his arms one more time. Lock the door. All 3 locks. Text me when you're in bed. His lips brushed my forehead. Dream of me, Emma. Dream of our future. Of the life I'm going to give you. After he left, I stood in my tiny studio, looking at the ring on my finger. The emerald caught the light, throwing green fire across the walls. This time tomorrow, I'd be living in his mansion, sleeping in that enormous bed, existing in his world of luxury and danger and obsessive protection. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt something that terrified me even more. Relief. Like I'd been waiting my whole life for someone to take control, to make the hard decisions, to care enough to be possessive and protective and completely overwhelming. Like I'd been drowning alone for so long that Dante's suffocating intensity felt like oxygen. My phone buzzed. Are you in bed? Yes, I lied. Still standing in the middle of my apartment. Good girl. Sleep well, Bella. Tomorrow you come home. Tomorrow you become mine completely. I can't wait. I climbed into my narrow bed for the last time, clutching my phone, staring at the ring that caught the streetlight filtering through my window. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, I'd step into Dante Russo's world completely. Tomorrow, I'd stop fighting the inevitable. And may God have mercy on my soul. Saturday morning arrived with unexpected sunshine breaking through Seattle's perpetual clouds, as if the universe itself was marking this turning point in my life. I woke early, my stomach a tangle of nerves and anticipation, the emerald ring on my finger catching the light and reminding me that this was real. This was happening. My phone showed 3 messages from Dante, sent at intervals through the night like he'd been unable to sleep. 2:47 a.m. Can't sleep knowing you're there and not here where you belong. 4:15 a.m. The movers will arrive at 9. Don't lift anything heavy. Let them do everything. 6:30 a.m. Good morning, beautiful. Last morning you wake up anywhere but in my home. In my bed, if you'll have me. That last message sent heat spiraling through me, images I shouldn't be having filling my mind. I'd be living with him, sleeping down the hall from him. How long before that distance disappeared completely? I was standing in my kitchenette making coffee when my phone rang. Not a text this time, but an actual call. Dante's name flashed on the screen. Hello? My voice came out breathier than intended. Emma. Just my name, but the way he said it, rough with sleep and want, made my knees weak. How did you sleep? Fine. You? Terribly. Kept thinking about you in that dangerous building, in that inadequate bed, when you should be here. A pause. Are you packed? I looked around my studio at the meager possessions I'd accumulated. I don't have much, just some clothes, books, photos of my parents and Jake. Everything else is cheap furniture that came with the place. Good. The movers will handle it. I want you to just supervise, make sure they take everything you want. Antonio will pick you up at noon and bring you here. His voice softened. To your new home. Dante, I struggled to articulate the swirl of emotions. What if this doesn't work? What if I can't adjust to your world? It will work. You'll adjust, because I'll make sure of it. That absolute certainty again. And Emma? Stop overthinking. Stop looking for reasons to run. Just trust me. Trust this. That's a lot of trust to ask from someone you've known for 3 days. 74 hours now, he corrected, and I could hear the smile in his voice. And I've learned more about you in those hours than most people learn in years. I know you take your coffee black because you can't afford cream and sugar regularly. I know you skip meals when you're stressed. I know you wear your mother's necklace under your scrubs every shift. I know you cry in the shower so your neighbors won't hear. I know you, Emma, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life learning everything else. Tears burned my eyes. How do you know all that? Because I pay attention. Because you matter. Because every detail about you is precious to me. A sound in the background. Voices. Movement. I have to go. Business requires my attention this morning. But I'll see you at noon. Be ready. He hung up before I could respond, and I stood there holding my phone, wondering how this man had managed to see through every wall I'd built, every defense I'd erected. At exactly 9 a.m., 3 moving trucks pulled up outside my building. Not regular movers. These men wore uniforms with a discreet logo I didn't recognize, and they worked with military efficiency. The supervisor, a broad-shouldered man named Victor with a thick Russian accent, handed me a clipboard. Miss Reeves, we pack everything you want to keep. Mr. Russo's orders. We are very careful with your possessions. He gestured to the boxes they'd brought, clearly expensive, custom-made. You just point. We do the work. Within 2 hours, my entire life was packed into boxes. It was depressing how little I had to show for 28 years. A few boxes of clothes, some books, photos, my mother's jewelry, a quilt my grandmother had made. The furniture stayed, along with the kitchen supplies and cheap decorations. None of it was worth keeping. None of it belonged in Dante's world. Sarah arrived at 11, breathless from climbing the stairs, carrying coffee and pastries. Okay, I had to see this with my own eyes. You're really doing it? Really moving in with the Mafia Boss you met 3 days ago? 74 hours. I corrected automatically, then caught her expression. God, I sound like him already. Emma. She grabbed my hands, her face serious. I love you. You're my best friend. And I'm terrified for you. This isn't normal. Moving in after 3 days, him paying off your debts, buying you cars, controlling where you live. These are red flags. Huge, waving, screaming red flags. I know. I squeezed her hands. I know it looks bad from the outside, but Sarah, he's not Marcus. He's not hiding what he is or what he wants. He's completely honest about being possessive, controlling, obsessive. And weirdly, that honesty makes me trust him more, not less, or you're justifying abuse before it starts. The word hung between us, sharp and ugly. Was that what this was? Was I so desperate for love and protection that I'd mistake obsession for devotion? He'd never hurt me, I said quietly. I know that sounds naive, but I feel it. In my bones. He'd kill for me, die for me, but he'd never hurt me. Emotional manipulation is still hurt. Maybe. But after Marcus, after my parents dying, after years of struggling alone, someone wanting to take care of me doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like relief. I pulled her into a hug. I'm going into this with my eyes open. If it becomes too much, if I need to leave, I will. But right now, I want to see where this goes. She hugged me back tightly. Call me every day, promise. I need to know you're okay. I promise. Antonio arrived at noon precisely, his kind eyes crinkling when he saw the boxes. All ready, Miss Reeves. Mr. Russo is very eager to have you home. Home. The word settled over me like a warm blanket. Sarah walked me down to the car, hugging me one more time. Be careful. Be smart. And remember, you always have a way out if you need it. The drive to Dante's estate felt surreal in daylight. The grounds were even more beautiful than I'd realized. Manicured gardens, a fountain with marble sculptures, what looked like a guest house in the distance. Security was everywhere but discreet. Cameras hidden in landscaping, men in suits positioned strategically, the high walls topped with elegant but effective security measures. Dante was waiting at the front entrance, and my breath caught at the sight of him. He'd dressed casually, dark jeans that hugged his muscular legs, a black Henley that stretched across his broad chest, his hair slightly damp like he'd just showered. Casual looked dangerous on him, made him seem more predatory somehow, less restrained by civilization. He opened my door himself before Antonio could, pulling me out and into his arms in one smooth motion. Welcome home, Bella. Then he kissed me, deep and possessive and claiming, right there in front of Antonio and the other security personnel, marking me as his for anyone watching. When he finally released me, I was breathless and dizzy. Come. He laced his fingers through mine, leading me into the house. I want to show you everything. The tour was overwhelming. The house had 12 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms, a state-of-the-art kitchen that made the one I'd seen look small, a formal dining room, a casual dining area, a library filled with first editions, a home theater, a gym that belonged in a professional facility, an indoor pool, a wine cellar, and a basement I noticed he carefully avoided mentioning. What's down there? I asked as we passed the basement door, heavy steel with a keypad lock. Business. His tone allowed no argument. That area is off limits, for your safety. I didn't push. I didn't want to know what a mafia boss kept in a locked basement. He saved my bedroom for last, pushing open the door to reveal a space that had been completely transformed since I'd seen it. The empty closet now held racks of clothes, designer labels I recognized from magazines. The dresser held delicate lingerie in silk and lace. The nightstand had fresh flowers, white roses this time, dozens of them, filling the room with their sweet scent. I had personal shoppers come, Dante explained, watching my face carefully, based on sizes Caroline gave me and what I've observed of your style. If you don't like anything, we'll replace it. But I wanted you to have options, to feel at home. I moved to the closet in a daze, running my fingers over fabrics I'd never imagined owning. Cashmere sweaters, silk blouses, designer jeans, evening gowns, shoes organized by style and color. Handbags worth more than my monthly salary. This is too much, I whispered. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. He came up behind me, his hands settling on my waist. I want to give you everything, Emma. Everything you've been denied. Everything you deserve. Let me. Please. I turned in his arms, looking up into those dark eyes. I don't know how to be this person. How to live like this. You just be yourself. That's all I want. You, exactly as you are, just safe and cared for. And mine. His thumb traced my cheekbone. The rest is just details. A knock at the door interrupted us. Marco appeared, his expression apologetic. Boss, sorry to interrupt, but the Calabrese situation requires your attention. Dante's jaw tightened. Now? They're insisting. Say it can't wait. I saw the conflict in his face. Duty versus desire. Go, I said softly. Handle your business. Exploring. You're sure? I'm sure. I need time to process all this anyway. He kissed me once more, hard and quick, before disappearing with Marco. I heard their voices fading down the hall, switching to rapid Italian that sounded tense and angry. Alone, I explored my new room more thoroughly. The bathroom was a revelation, a soaking tub big enough for two. A rainfall shower with more jets than I could count. Heated floors. Towels so soft they felt like clouds. The toiletries were all high-end, chosen specifically for me based on scents I'd mentioned liking. He'd thought of everything. I was examining the books on the shelf, classics I'd mentioned wanting to read, when I heard voices from somewhere below. Raised voices, angry and sharp. Curiosity pulled me from my room, following the sound down the grand staircase to the main floor. The voices came from behind a closed door. Dante's office, I assumed. I shouldn't eavesdrop. I should go back upstairs, unpack, give him privacy for his business, but my hand was already reaching for the door, pushing it open just a crack. Dante stood behind a massive desk, his posture rigid with controlled fury. Marco was there, along with two other men I didn't recognize, older, harder, wearing expensive suits that couldn't hide their dangerous edges. You question my decisions? Dante's voice was ice. In my own territory? Under my own roof? We question your judgment, one of the older men said in accented English. This girl, she's a liability, a weakness. You've known her days and already she's living here. Already you're distracted. Careful, Sal. The warning in Dante's tone made the hair on my neck stand up. Very careful how you speak about what's mine. She's a civilian, a nobody nurse from a nothing family. What happens when your enemies find out? When they realize they can hurt you by hurting her? The man, Sal, leaned forward. You've made yourself vulnerable for a woman you barely know. I've made myself complete. Dante's hands braced on the desk. And anyone who threatens her, who even looks at her wrong, will learn exactly how dangerous I can be. Are we clear? Boss, Marco started, but Dante cut him off. I said, are we clear? The temperature in the room dropped. The two older men exchanged glances, then nodded. Crystal, Sal muttered. Good, now get out, all of you. I have more important things to do than defend my personal choices to subordinates. They filed out, and I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering. Marco spotted me as they passed, his expression unreadable. But he didn't acknowledge me, just kept walking. I should leave. Should pretend I hadn't heard, but I was rooted to the spot, processing what I'd overheard. Liability. Weakness. Vulnerability. They were right, weren't they? I'd made him vulnerable, put him at risk in ways I didn't fully understand. I know you're there, Emma. Dante's voice carried through the open door. Come in. Caught. I pushed the door open fully. He stood by the window now, hands in his pockets, looking out at the grounds. His shoulders were tight with tension. How much did you hear? He asked without turning. Enough. I closed the door behind me. They think I'm a liability, that I make you vulnerable. They're not wrong. He turned to face me, and the rawness in his expression stole my breath. You do make me vulnerable. You're my weakness now, Emma. The one thing that could destroy me if anything happened to you. Then maybe this is a mistake. Maybe I should... Don't. He crossed the distance between us in 3 strides, gripping my arms. Don't even think it. Yes, you make me vulnerable. But you also make me stronger, more focused, more determined to protect what's mine and eliminate any threat. His eyes bored into mine. They're afraid because they've never seen me like this. Never seen me care about anything except business and power, but you've changed that. Changed me. Into what? Into a man who has something to lose. Something worth fighting for, worth dying for. His hands slid up to cut my face. And that makes me more dangerous than I've ever been. Not less. Because now I have a reason to be ruthless. A reason to destroy anyone who threatens my happiness. That's insane. Yes. He smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. Welcome to my world, Bella, where love and violence are the same language. Where protection means elimination of threats. Where obsession is devotion. He pressed his forehead to mine. I promised you the truth. This is it. My world is brutal and bloody and dangerous. And you being in it puts a target on your back. But that target was there the moment I decided you were mine, whether you lived here or in that shithole apartment. At least here, I can protect you. Keep you safe. Control the variables. You can't control everything. Watch me. His lips brushed mine, soft and lethal. I've already increased security, put men on your brother. He doesn't know, thinks it's just random people in his neighborhood. I've had background checks run on everyone you work with at the hospital. Anyone who could be a threat, a vulnerability, a way to hurt you. His hand slid into my hair. I told you I'd be obsessive. I told you I'd be possessive. This is what that looks like, Emma. Total control. Complete protection. Absolute ownership. I should have been horrified. Should have run screaming. Instead, I kissed him. Poured all my confusion and fear and desperate need into that kiss, meeting his intensity with my own. He groaned against my mouth, pulling me flush against him, and I felt the evidence of his desire, hard and demanding against my stomach. Emma, he growled, if you keep kissing me like that, I won't be able to stop, won't be able to be gentle. Then don't stop. The words came from somewhere primal, somewhere that had been dormant for years. Don't be gentle. Show me. Show me what it means to be yours. His control snapped. He lifted me effortlessly, my legs wrapping around his waist as he walked us backward until I was pressed against his desk, papers scattered. Something crashed to the floor, but he didn't care. His mouth was on my neck, biting, sucking, marking me as his hands roamed my body with possessive hunger. Tell me to stop, he demanded against my throat. Tell me this is too fast, that we should wait, and I will. I'll stop. But Emma, if you don't tell me now, don't stop. I arched into him, craving more of his touch, his weight, his overwhelming presence. Please, Dante, I need... A knock at the door interrupted us, sharp and urgent. Boss! Emergency! Dante froze, every muscle tensed with frustration. What? The word was a snarl. Port situation. The feds are doing a surprise inspection. They're looking for you specifically. He dropped his head to my shoulder, breathing hard. Timing, he muttered. Then, louder, I'll be right there. He lifted me off the desk, setting me on unsteady feet, his hands lingering on my waist. I'm sorry. I have to handle this. But Emma? His thumb traced my swollen lower lip. Tonight, we finish this tonight. No interruptions. Just you and me and everything I've been holding back. The promise in his eyes made my core clench with anticipation. He kissed me once more, then was gone, leaving me alone in his office with racing heart and trembling hands and the absolute certainty that I'd just crossed a line I could never uncross. I was his now, completely, irrevocably, and God help anyone who tried to change that. The sun was setting over Elliott Bay, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold when Dante finally returned. I'd spent the afternoon unpacking my meager belongings, feeling slightly ridiculous placing my worn paperbacks next to first editions, hanging my clearance rack clothes beside designer pieces. But slowly, the room began to feel like mine. Our housekeeper, Rosa, a warm Italian woman in her 60s who'd worked for Dante's family for decades, had brought me lunch and dinner, chattering about how happy she was that Mr. Dante finally found someone worthy of him. I was standing on the balcony, wrapped in a cashmere throw, watching the city lights flicker to life when I heard his footsteps behind me. Hey, I said softly, not turning around. Hey yourself. His arms came around me from behind, pulling me back against his chest. He smelled like cologne and danger and something acrid. Smoke, maybe? Sorry that took so long. The feds were fishing, trying to find something to pin on me. They left empty-handed. Does that happen often? Federal agents showing up? Often enough. Occupational hazard. His lips brushed my temple, but I don't want to talk about them. I want to talk about us, about what almost happened in my office. Heat flooded through me at the memory. His hands on my body, his mouth on my neck, the desperate hunger between us. I've been thinking, I started, but he turned me in his arms, silencing me with a look. Dangerous activity, he murmured, but there was warmth in his eyes. What have you been thinking about? About what your men said, about me being a liability, about putting you in danger just by existing in your world. I placed my hand on his chest, feeling his heartbeat strong and steady beneath my palm. Maybe we should slow down, give ourselves time to— No. The word was absolute. I told you, Emma. I don't do slow, and my men are wrong. You don't make me weaker. You make me focused. Give me something worth protecting beyond territory and money. His hand covered mine. Do you want to slow down? Truly? Because if you do, if this is too much too fast, tell me. I'll respect your wishes even if it kills me. Did I want to slow down? Every rational part of my brain screamed yes. But my heart, my body, my soul, they all knew the truth. No, I whispered. I don't want to slow down. I swallowed hard. I want what you promised earlier, you and me. No interruptions. Everything you've been holding back. His eyes went dark, pupils dilating with desire. Are you sure? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back. You'll be mine in every way that matters. I'm already yours. We both know it. This just makes it official. He swept me into his arms, carrying me through the balcony doors into my bedroom. Our bedroom, I realized, because he had no intention of sleeping across the hall. Not anymore. He laid me on the bed with surprising gentleness, following me down, caging me beneath his body. I need you to understand something, he said, his voice rough with barely controlled desire. I've been with women before, meaningless encounters, physical release, nothing more. But you, his hand cupped my face with devastating tenderness. You're different, sacred. Mine in a way no one else has ever been. So I'm going to worship you, Emma. I'm going to show you exactly what it means to belong to me. He kissed me then, slow and deep and thorough, taking his time exploring my mouth like he had all the time in the world. His hands traced my body over my clothes, learning every curve, every sensitive spot, until I was arching beneath him, desperate for more. Patience, Bella, he murmured against my lips. I'm going to savor every moment of this. Every sound you make, every tremor, every gasp. His mouth moved to my neck, finding the spot that made me whimper. There it is. I'm going to learn all your secrets, Emma. Every place that makes you moan, every touch that makes you beg. He made good on that promise, undressing me slowly, reverently, kissing every inch of skin he revealed. When I tried to rush to touch him back, he captured my wrists, pinning them gently above my head. Not yet, he commanded. Tonight is about you, about showing you how much you mean to me, how precious you are, how thoroughly you own me. What followed was hours of exquisite torment, his mouth and hands learning my body, finding places of pleasure I didn't know existed. He was demanding but tender, possessive but worshipful, taking me apart piece by piece and putting me back together as something new, something his. When he finally made me his completely, joining our bodies in the most intimate way, I felt the last of my walls crumble. Felt myself surrender not just physically but emotionally, spiritually, offering him every part of myself without reservation. Mine, he breathed against my lips as we moved together. Say it, tell me you're mine. Yours, I gasped, only yours. Always yours. He took my mouth in a searing kiss, swallowing my cries as pleasure crashed over me in waves. And when he followed me over that edge, my name on his lips like a prayer, I knew with absolute certainty that this man, this dangerous, obsessive, impossible man, owned me completely. Afterward, We lay tangled together, my head on his chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. The city glittered beyond the windows, but inside our cocoon, there was only us. "I love you," he said quietly. "I know it's too soon by normal standards. I know I'm supposed to wait, build up to it, let you catch up. But I love you, Emma Reeves. Completely. Irrevocably. Forever." Tears slipped down my cheeks because those words, from this man, meant everything. Meant safety and danger and protection and possession, and a future I'd never imagined. "I love you too," I whispered, and felt his arms tighten around me. I don't know how it happened so fast, but I do. I love you. We stayed like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, until reality intruded in the form of his phone buzzing insistently on the nightstand. He ignored it for 3 calls before finally grabbing it with a growl. "What?" I couldn't hear the response, but I saw his expression shift from irritation to something darker. Dangerous. "When?" A pause. "I'll handle it. Lock down the port. No one in or out without my explicit approval." He ended the call, jaw tight with fury. "What's wrong?" I asked, sitting up and clutching the sheet to my chest. He was quiet for a moment, warring with himself. Then, "I promised you truth, complete honesty about my world." He turned to face me fully. "There's been a betrayal. Someone in my organization has been feeding information to a rival family. The Calabrese, the family whose territory borders mine. We've had an uneasy peace for years, but someone's been trying to start a war. Who? I don't know yet, but I will." The promise in his voice was lethal. "And when I find them..." He stopped, seeming to remember who he was talking to. "I'm sorry. You shouldn't have to hear about this." "Yes, I should. You promised truth, remember? This is your world. Our world now." I reached for his hand. "What happens when you find the traitor?" His eyes met mine, unflinching. "I'll make an example of them. It's the only way to maintain control. Maintain respect. If I show weakness, if I let betrayal go unpunished, others will think they can do the same." "You mean you'll kill them? Not a question." "Yes." No apology, no justification, just brutal honesty. I should have been horrified, should have recoiled from this glimpse into the violence of his world. But I'd known what he was from the beginning. Had chosen him with my eyes open. Will you be in danger? That was my only real concern, not the morality of his actions, but his safety. Something softened in his expression. "You're worried about me." "Of course I am. You're mine too, remember? Which means I get to be possessive and protective right back." He pulled me into his arms, kissing me with unexpected tenderness. "I'll be fine. This is what I do, what I've been trained for since I was 12 years old. But the fact that you care, that you worry..." His voice roughened. "No one's worried about me in a long time, Emma. Not genuinely. They fear me, respect me, obey me. But worry, care, that's new. He seemed to struggle for words. "That's everything." "Then promise me you'll be careful, that you'll come back to me. Always. I'll always come back to you." He kissed me again, deeper this time. "You're my reason now, Emma, my purpose beyond power and control. I'll come back because you're here waiting. Because this, us, is worth more than any territory or any revenge." His phone rang again. He answered with clipped efficiency, switching to Italian for a rapid conversation that sounded tense and urgent. When he hung up, he was already moving, pulling on clothes with practiced speed. "I have to go. Meeting with my captains, figure out who the traitor is and how to handle the Calabrese situation." He cupped my face. "Stay here. Don't leave the estate. Marco will be right outside your door. Rosa is in the guest house if you need anything. And Emma?" His thumb traced my cheekbone. "I know this is scary. I know you're probably wondering what you've gotten yourself into. But I swear to you, I will keep you safe. No matter what happens, no matter who tries to use you against me, I will protect you. I know you will." He kissed me once more, hard and possessive, then was gone. I sat alone in the massive bed, processing everything. 24 hours ago, I'd been packing up my shabby studio apartment. Now I was living in a mansion, in love with a mafia boss, and apparently in the middle of some kind of turf war. It was insane, but as I touched my lips, still swollen from his kisses, still tasting him, I realized I didn't want to go back, didn't want safe and normal and predictable. I wanted this, the danger and the passion and the overwhelming intensity of being loved by Dante Russo. Sleep was impossible, so I wrapped myself in his shirt, still carrying his scent, and wandered the house. Marco followed at a discreet distance, ever the professional. I ended up in the library, surrounded by books, curled up in a leather chair by the fireplace that Rosa had lit for me. I must have dozed off because I woke to Dante lifting me into his arms. "Let's get you to bed properly, Bella." "What time is it?" I mumbled against his chest. 3 a.m. "I'm sorry I was gone so long. Did you find the traitor?" "Yes." His voice was flat, emotionless. "It's been handled." I didn't ask what handled meant. Didn't want to know the details of how he dealt with betrayal. Some things were better left in the darkness of his world. He carried me to bed, climbing in beside me, pulling me against his chest. He was still dressed, though his shirt was slightly rumpled, and I caught the faint smell of gunpowder beneath his cologne. "Are you okay?" I asked quietly. "I am now. Now that I'm here with you." His arms tightened around me. "This is what I needed. Just you. Just this peace." We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and I dreamed of dark eyes and dangerous promises and a future that terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. The next morning was Sunday, and Dante kept his promise about truth. Over breakfast on the terrace, Rosa had outdone herself with fresh pastries, fruit, and the best coffee I'd ever tasted. He told me everything. About his family's history in organized crime, going back 3 generations to when his great-grandfather had immigrated from Sicily. About the territories they controlled, the businesses they ran. Some legal, most not. About the violence required to maintain power. The enemies always circling, the constant threat of betrayal and death. He didn't sugarcoat it, didn't try to justify or minimize. Just laid out the brutal truth of his world and let me decide if I could live with it. "The reason I'm telling you all this," he said, reaching across the table to take my hand, "is because you deserve to know what you're walking into, what being with me means, the dangers, the moral compromises, the reality that the man you love has blood on his hands and will have more before this is over." "How much blood?" I had to ask. Had to know. Enough that I stopped counting years ago. His thumb stroked my palm. "I don't kill for pleasure, Emma. I'm not a monster. But I do what's necessary to protect my family, my territory, my people, and now that includes you, which means anyone who threatens you." His expression went cold. "They don't get a second chance. Like Marcus?" I'd been wondering about my ex, about Dante's promise to make him return the money. "Marcus is alive. Scared. But alive. He returned every penny he stole from you, with 50% interest, and he's been strongly encouraged to leave the state, which he did yesterday. Portland's not far enough, but I'm feeling generous since his theft brought you to that coffee shop, broke and vulnerable and perfect." A dark smile played at his lips. "In a way, I should thank him. If he hadn't destroyed you, you might not have needed saving, might not have let me in. It was twisted logic, but I understood it. Understood how my brokenness had made me vulnerable to Dante's particular brand of salvation." "What about the Calabrese family, the ones trying to start a war?" "Dealt with. We had a meeting last night, their boss and me. Came to an understanding. The traitor who was feeding them information was one of my own men, someone I trusted. He's been made an example of." His jaw tightened. "The Calabrese know that if they come after what's mine, including you, I'll burn their entire operation to the ground. They're backing off, for now. And if they don't, if they come after me anyway, then I'll do exactly what I promised. Burn them to the ground. Destroy everyone who threatens you. Start a war if necessary." He stood, moving around the table to kneel beside my chair, taking both my hands. "Emma, I need you to understand something. You're not just my girlfriend or my lover or even just the woman I love. You're my everything. My weakness and my strength. My reason for getting up in the morning and my reason for being ruthless when I have to be. And I will protect you with everything I have. Everything I am. Until my last breath. Tears spilled down my cheeks because the intensity of his devotion was overwhelming, terrifying, beautiful. I'm scared, I admitted. Not of you, but of this world. Of losing you. Of something happening that I can't control. Good. Fear keeps you careful, keeps you safe. But Emma? He cupped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. You're not alone in this fear. I'm terrified too. Terrified every moment you're out of my sight. Terrified that my world will touch you, hurt you, destroy the light that drew me to you in the first place. But I'm more terrified of losing you, of letting you walk away because I'm too dangerous. So I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to keep you, protect you, love you, and pray that it's enough. It's enough. I whispered. You're enough. This, us, is enough. He kissed me then, there on the terrace with the morning sun warming our skin, and it felt like a vow, a promise, a beginning. The rest of that Sunday was spent in quiet domesticity that felt surreal given what we'd discussed. We cooked together, Dante teaching me his grandmother's recipe for carbonara. We watched movies curled up on the couch. We made love slowly, tenderly, like we had all the time in the world. And later that evening, as we stood on the balcony watching the sun set over the water, he slipped a different ring onto my left hand. Not the emerald promise, but a stunning diamond that caught the dying light and threw rainbows across the stone. Marry me, he said simply. Not because it's expected or because I'm trying to trap you, but because I want the world to know you're mine. Because I want to wake up every morning for the rest of my life with you beside me. Because I love you more than I thought possible to love anyone, and I want to make it official in every way that matters. My hands were shaking as I looked at the ring. Easily 3 carats, flawless, set in platinum with smaller diamonds circling the band. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Yes, I breathed. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was incandescent, pure joy and triumph and possessive satisfaction. He lifted me off my feet, spinning me around as I laughed. And for that moment, there was no danger, no mafia, no violence. Just a man who loved me and a woman who loved him back. 6 months later, I stood in front of the mirror in what had become our bedroom. I'd long since stopped even pretending to use it as just mine. My wedding dress was a masterpiece of lace and silk, custom designed by Vera Wang herself after Dante had flown us to New York for fittings. Sarah stood beside me, tears streaming down her face, helping with my veil. You look so beautiful, she sniffled. I can't believe you're actually doing this. Neither can I sometimes, I admitted. But my smile was genuine. These 6 months had been a whirlwind, adjusting to Dante's world, to the luxury and danger and constant security. Learning to navigate social events with other crime families, to smile politely at people I knew were killers, to accept that my husband-to-be's hands were stained with blood, but they were also the happiest months of my life. Dante had kept every promise. I still worked at the hospital, with security, yes, but I worked. Jake had thrived at University of Washington, making the dean's list and calling me weekly to thank me, and Dante, for the opportunity. My debts were gone, my credit restored, my life transformed in ways I'd never imagined. And Dante, he'd been everything he'd promised and more. Protective without being suffocating. Possessive without being controlling. Loving in ways that still took my breath away. Are you ready? Sarah asked, straightening my veil. I've been ready since the moment I met him, I said honestly. The ceremony was held in the estate's gardens, transformed into a wonderland of white flowers and twinkling lights. 200 guests, a mix of Dante's family and associates, my co-workers and friends, and people whose names I recognized from news reports about organized crime. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt right. Jake walked me down the aisle, tears in his eyes as he gave me away to the man who'd changed both our lives. And Dante, standing at the altar in a custom tuxedo that made him look like a dark angel, his eyes never leaving mine as I approached, looked at me like I was his salvation, his redemption, his everything. The vows were traditional, but when he slipped the ring on my finger and promised to love and protect me until death, I heard the deeper promise underneath. The vow of a man who would kill to keep me safe, who would burn the world down for me, who had claimed me as thoroughly as possible, and would never let me go. And when the priest pronounced us husband and wife, when Dante kissed me with passionate possession in front of everyone we knew, I felt complete. Whole. Home. The reception was a blur of champagne and dancing and well-wishes from people who would terrify me if I didn't have Dante's ring on my finger and his protection wrapped around me like armor. We cut the cake, a towering masterpiece that Rosa had overseen personally. We danced our first dance to a song Dante had chosen, his arms strong and sure around me as he whispered promises in Italian that made me blush. And later, much later, after the guests had left and the estate was quiet, he carried me to our bedroom, truly ours now, officially and completely. Mrs. Russo, he murmured against my lips as he laid me on the bed. My wife, mine forever. Yours forever, I agreed, pulling him down to me. And you're mine too. Don't forget that. Never. I'm yours as completely as you're mine. Two halves of one whole. Light and darkness, safety and danger. He kissed me deeply, thoroughly. I love you, Emma Russo. My wife. My heart. My everything. We made love that night with a new intensity. The knowledge that we'd bound ourselves together legally, spiritually, eternally adding weight to every touch, every kiss, every whispered word of devotion. And afterward, wrapped in his arms, his ring heavy on my finger, I thought about how far I'd come, from that broken, exhausted woman in the coffee shop to this, a mafia wife, protected and cherished and loved beyond measure. It wasn't the life I'd imagined. It was dangerous and dark and completely insane by normal standards. But it was mine. Dante was mine, and as I drifted off to sleep, listening to his heartbeat steady beneath my ear, I knew with absolute certainty that I would never want anything else. This dangerous, impossible, overwhelming love was exactly what I needed, what I'd been waiting for my entire life. My salvation had come in the form of a dark angel with blood on his hands and obsession in his heart, and I'd surrendered to it completely, happily, forever.